Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the circus was in town this past weekend. On Saturday, the Premier walked the tightrope, and on Sunday, the acrobats did a triple somersault and landed on the Leap Manifesto platform. On Monday, we watched the contortionists, well, actually it was the NDP government caucus desperately trying to distance itself from this document. Now, we've seen this sideshow before. Just last week, the Environment Minister was forced to defend her attempts to politicize Emira after harsh criticism from prominent Canadian scientists. To the Minister, when will you stop flip-flopping on issues that have a profound effect on the energy sector and Alberta's economy?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, and you know, I'm pretty sure I was pretty clear in the national newspaper on Friday where Alberta stands with respect to our climate leadership and our access to tidewater, Mr. Speaker. But I welcome every available opportunity to underline the matter to Albertans that this province and this government has energy workers' backs. No problem.
Very good.
Now, as to Emera, Mr. Speaker, we have acted on good advice, external advice from the former Deputy Minister of Environment Canada, and I thank him very much for his advice. He found duplication. He found ways in which we can do better on monitoring. Certainly, Indigenous peoples have welcomed this approach as well. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's a difference between having workers' backs and stabbing them in the back. Mr. Speaker, every caucus has a ring, every circus has a ringmaster, and given that the Alberta NDP takes its policy marching orders from the federal NDP mothership, and given that the federal party has proven once and for all that they care nothing for the well-being of Albertans and our key industry, to the same minister, was the decision to make environmental monitoring in Alberta less transparent and less accountable a product of your own personal ideology, or were you acting on a mandate from your federal bosses?
Honourable Minister.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And in fact, the mandate that we were given last May 5th, that the honourable members' caucus was not given, was a very, very clear mandate to review agencies, boards and commissions, given all of the silliness that had been happening under the previous governments with ABCs. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, we will see more action on this matter within the budget. Now, the fact of the matter is we found duplication. We found ways to do better with our environmental monitoring. And when we know better, Mr. Speaker, we will do better.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, you can always tell when they've run out of answers when they start talking about the ABC review. Given that the Environmental Minister believes that a $3 billion carbon tax and dissolving independent monitoring agencies will give her government the social license to build much-needed pipelines, and given that her government was unable to convince even their most vocal supporters of the merit of these decisions, to the Minister, if you can't persuade your own comrades to share your ideology, to stand in solidarity with you, how do you expect to convince people outside your circus tent to, you know, the ones who actually have the authority to approve these projects?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not super sure if there was a question in there, but let me give it a try. Okay, so I think we were pretty clear over the weekend, Mr. Speaker, that this government is committed to a climate leadership plan that will lead the country, stop being a laggard, that will embrace the science of climate change, unlike some of our friends, or those who would propose that we do nothing, because that's a form of rejecting the science, Mr. Speaker. So we will move forward on a plan that is thoughtful, that is carefully calibrated to respond to the existing environmental conditions, and we will make sure, Mr. Speaker,